Welcome to the Two Act Podcast, a weekly discussion on anime, cinema, and TV. I'm your co-host Adi, and as always, I'm joined here with my other co-host gothjon. Today, we've got a very exciting recommendation. We're reviewing Ryan Coogler's Sinners, an original American horror film. It stars Michael B. Jordan in dual roles as twin brothers Stack and Smoke, who returned to their hometown in Mississippi in 1932 to start a jukebox club, only to be confronted by a supernatural evil that's waiting to leer on them. The film also co-stars Haley Steinfeld, Miles Caton in his theatrical film debut, Jack O'Connell, Wunmi Mosaku, Omer Miller, and Delroy Lindo. So we'll go with opening thoughts. I think this is like, well, we can just say, I'll just say that I think this is one of the first like really good films of the year that's resonated commercially and critically. But what did you think of Sinners, John?
I liked it. I didn't think I was going to like blues as much as I did watching this film. I got into it. I was like, all right, I dig it.
Yeah, same. I mean, like, I didn't, so I'll be honest, like, I didn't know much about the film. I didn't even watch much of the trailer or anything.
Yeah, I didn't either.
I just saw maybe snippets, and there was the first wave of reactions to this film were so overwhelmingly positive that, it just became like one of those must-see films. And I'm glad I watched it because going into it, I was just thinking, okay, well, you got like Ryan Coogler and Michael B. Jordan, and they've collaborated. I think this is their fifth creation together. They made so many movies over the years, from Fruitvale
he did
Station.
the Creed, and didn't he do the first Black Panther?
Yeah.
And Michael B. Jordan, as I like to call him, not basketball Jordan. I really liked him as Killmonger in that Black Panther movie, so I was excited to see him in this. I was just like, I know that man can act. So,
oh yeah, he's one of the most like talented actors to come out in the last 10 years, and you're right. I really liked his role in Black Panther as well. Like, and it was more of an antagonist role. So when I saw that he was cast in a dual role as twin brothers, I was like, okay, that could be a fun challenge for him and for us to watch. But I hadn't heard a crazy amount about this film before. I know it was like in some of the most anticipated films for this year, but I just think like my opening thoughts were like going into it, I thought, okay, you got a period horror film set in Mississippi 1932, and it involves vampires. I was just thinking, okay, this can go wrong so easily. Like, this could be like either really jarring, really corny, or really cheap. Like it could easily go off the rails thinking about it now.
Like From Dusk Till Dawn. That's what I was thinking going into this.
Yeah.
Kind of what I was expecting.
Pretty much. But I was blown away by this. I mean, it was everything. It just had this jazz-like energy to it. You mentioned blues, and it was messy, it was reverberating, it had like music, it had horror, it had like the first half of the film is so like grounded in realism for the era it depicts, and then it just has that twist in genre turn, and it just goes crazy in a good way. And you've got some really fun performances in this film. And what did you think of it? So going into it, what did you think of like performances and?
Oh, I really liked Jack O'Connell. He does a great job of being very menacing and charming at the same time with that Irish accent he has going on.
Right. Yeah, Jack O'Connell, British actor. He's great in this. I don't know why we don't see him more in bigger projects, but he stars as Remick, who
Mhm.
is the vampire, the main antagonist in the film. So I think we should give a bit of a brief rundown of what happens. So it's about these two brothers who are like war veterans,
Yep, from
and they
World War One.
World War One, and they return to their hometown in Mississippi, and they have stolen gangster money in their
Chicago
uh,
from Al Capone.
yeah, Al Capone, and they decide to buy a huge barn like warehouse,
From a
like
racist.
from literally, yeah, from that scene was so tense.
Yeah,
I
and
was like,
when he
like
was like, "There ain't no Klan down here."
yeah, yeah. What was your? I was curious to get your thoughts on that because it's
Yeah.
like it's set in a time. Obviously, I don't know. You may know more about it. Like, what did you think about the whole depiction of?
I thought it was gonna go full like racist, like all the N bombs. That's what I thought was about to happen, but thankfully it didn't. You don't get to really hear that till like way later. And I was I was definitely suspect of him, but it was, maybe it'll be all right. They do their own things. They got money. They're obviously pointing out that they're armed. Especially in the standoffs, they're like, "Hey, you're not gonna pull one over on us because you're gonna die."
Yeah, it's like weirdly comical but tense at the
Yeah.
same
Oh
time.
yeah,
Like
yeah, yeah.
there's this frantic energy in the whole exchange, and he's reaching out in his jacket, and then he hands him the money. So he wasn't just when you think, oh, there's gonna be a brutal shootout, right
Right.
in the opening of the film. But the film really opens with Miles Caton as Sammy, their cousin, who
Hmm.
stumbles into a church, uh, and he's got like he's obviously been attacked because he's bloody.
Mutilated. Yeah.
He's got a huge like scratch on his face,
Yeah. And he's
and
got a
it was
broken guitar, I guess, and or
yeah.
banjo, and he's walking up to his father, the preacher, while he's giving a Sunday mass, and his dad's like trying to like comfort him, and
That it was such an interesting opening because like
right,
I was like, "Fuck, are we gonna see a full
he's
out vampire
right,
bloodbath in the church? Like this guy gonna go crazy? He's
right,
clearly he's bitten, right? Because you look at the blood and all that
hmm
scratch, and you're thinking he's gone. Uh, but it just had it was like a flash forward. The film begins with, and then we really see what happens later when we catch up. But then it goes into the brother storyline. But I thought it was quite an interesting opening for me because it did set up like that whole intrigue of okay, something's gonna happen for sure.
right,
So now we just gotta wait till when. But I was like, I liked the whole setup in the first 1 hour so much. Like I thought it was really grounded, like I mentioned earlier, and I was really actually invested in knowing what the brothers were doing and what their whole deal was. Um, and I've genuinely forgot that it's the same actor playing two roles. Like that's how
yeah.
believable.
I had to look up. Did he have a twin brother? I was like, Michael B. Jordan doesn't have a twin brother,
No,
does
no,
he?
I knew that, but it was like I didn't when I was watching it, it was totally believable because they
Right, right.
felt like two distinct performances from the same actor. And I always wonder what that must feel like because like there's been so many films over the years that feature dual roles or actors playing more than one role
Right. Like
with the
any Jim
same.
Carrey movie. Where
Yeah,
he's playing like 50 characters because he's crazy.
yeah, yeah. Or playing like a doppelganger or a twin version of yourself.
All right.
I always thought about like the logistics of how they shoot that and what the challenge must be from an
Right.
acting point of view. But this
Yeah,
one
you
was,
just have to like splice the two cuts together when they're in the same frame.
yeah, yeah,
And I'm pretty
somewhat.
sure they had to do that for this because they're standing right by each other.
Yeah, I'm sure they had like doubles and stuff, but it was like
Right.
seamless at all points. It was seamless. Like
Right.
I couldn't. Not that I was watching the film to to wait for a moment to pick on a flaw on that.
Right. Yeah, and you don't even see that like in the special effects. You're just
No,
like,
you
oh
don't.
no, that looks great. They used a nice mix of practical and digital,
Yeah,
and I'm sure they had so much practical that they were swimming in fake blood.
they were. They were. What did you think of the two brothers? Because we got Smoke and Stack.
No,
Um,
I really enjoyed them. I thought they were
yeah,
very interesting. Like you said, I really wanted to see where their characters went, because they're doing no good, and they ran away from Chicago with a big pile of cash, and it's only going to end badly. But it's really wondering like how it's going to happen.
yeah. There's so much like backstory layered. There's so much context.
Right. And
Um,
then
it-
Stack has like a love interest that like shows up, and she's like a mixed race gal, and they're like trying to like introduce her character, and I'm like, I don't really care as much about her as I do about these two characters.
yeah, yeah. I'm guessing you're referring to like Haley Steinfeld's
Yeah,
role
yeah. Yeah, I
as
don't even
Mary.
remember her character's name.
Yeah, her name was Mary. And this is like, okay, so this is what I had a problem with, not with the film,
Right.
but I only saw like very few clips like on social media scrolling through. Uh, and the clips literally showed uh, one of Michael B. Jordan's characters and Haley Steinfeld in vampire state, like they
Yep.
were vampires. And I just thought, why would they do that? Now that I think about it after watching the film, like that's such a big giveaway.
All right.
And it just completely takes out the whole emotional angle to the story because like seeing them turn is devastating, especially for the brothers to see one
Mhm.
of his own turn into a vampire, which is again big spoilers for the film. But it's like I just think why would like I don't get what marketing in the big 2025 is all about. Like why is everyone in the big studios so obsessed with trying to market the films with such heavy spoilers for
All
no
right.
reason? Like I just this is the entire reason not to go off topic here, but this is the entire reason why I don't like watching trailers anymore because I just feel like
They show you the best like 20 seconds of the film, and you just got the best 20 seconds of the film spoiled.
yeah, and it's pretty annoying because it's like now I'm
They're like,
gonna
"Oh,
watch
I saw the trailer. I
20
don't need to see the movie now."
yeah. Well, it's also like it feels you kind of feel deceived.
Right.
You feel like you've been given a wrong deal here because it's like you're expected to like know that in the moment, but it's been spoiled for you. So I guess that's more of a issue I had with the way the film marketed.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah,
marketed by Warner Discovery,
yep.
Warner Brother Pictures.
Trying to
Again, a
get their
big
money
studio.
back.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty ambitious for them to have backed this original film, period piece horror film, for $90 million. You know, in a landscape of like films that are heavily franchise driven. So, I think it's quite a thing for this film to exist. And also Ryan Coogler, I think he's a proven director by now. Like he can handle it, and it's so good to see creatives uh, get the resources and the funding to really bring their vision onto the onto the big screen,
Mhm.
without having to compromise like crazy, like trying to make a film on a measly budget. Uh, but you really can see that everything they did in terms of the quality, in terms of the set design. I really like the production design in the film, especially of the whole jukebox club that they build and get into. And I thought like the costume design was great. I really also like the way the vampires were designed.
You liked that
Uh,
future costume? Supposed to be like Jimi Hendrix.
yeah, the one in the end, right?
Yeah. Oh no, in the not that. No, in that scene where they're in the juke joint and he's like showing like a Chinese person and then like somebody playing the drums
Oh
and then
yeah,
there's like a random guy just playing a guitar. It's like
yeah,
all
yeah,
past in the future.
yeah. That was I think one of the, we'll talk about that in a bit, but that was for me one of the standout scenes in the whole
Right.
film. Really, really shined for me. But I guess going back into the brothers storyline,
Mhm.
uh, they reunite with their cousin Sammy, who's decided to get off church service and he wants to explore music, even though he's been advised against it and told that there's nothing good that'll come out of it. Uh, Even to the point where I think the father tells him that blues music is uh, evil or something along those lines.
Yeah, that
So,
sounds pretty par for the course. Any
yeah,
music at all, like rock and roll is the devil. That's
yeah.
what every kid growing up was told during that time. And you see Elvis stealing the jive dance from the black community, and he's like, he's
Mm.
got the devil involved in him. He's possessed.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And I think it's interesting you bring the point about Elvis stealing because like a lot of what the topics and themes of this film is, it's really about like when you look at the vampires who come over and then try to take over the community of African Americans, and especially Remick because he's a very fascinating antagonist. Um, he wants to basically take these people and make them like it's basically cultural appropriation, isn't it? Like what he's trying to do is he's trying to convert them into his kind, and he's got no regard for their culture, but he wants their music. He wants Sammy's singing, but he doesn't care about Sammy's story. I just thought that was such an interesting subtext to explore in the film. And even though it's purely fictional, it's a metaphor. It's vampires, but I thought it was so cleverly written by Coogler that yeah, it was pretty thought provoking for me now that I reflect on it. Um, but I guess going back into the story, they really just assemble a crew, don't they?
Yep, they
And
got like a music player, like a piano guy he's like they find him playing a harmonica, and then he's I can't remember, one of the brothers is like trying to like negotiate with him
yeah,
for what he'll get paid.
that's Delta Slim, played by Delroy Lindo, who's a
Mhm.
pianist. I thought he was like one of the standout characters because he's always drunk.
He kind of reminded me of Donald Glover in a way.
Yeah, kind of,
He's like
kind
kind
of.
of like an older, like wise man.
Yeah, yeah. Uh, he was great. I thought he was a standout. Um, and he's so funny. And the bit in the end where he sacrifices himself was so like heartfelt, and it was such a crushing moment. And he does that because he's drunk, and the vampires drink his blood and get disoriented. And I thought that was so funny, but it was so crushing too. Uh, and then you got this Asian couple who are helping out.
Yeah, I liked
Um,
them.
they're, sh-
They were
they're
fun.
shopkeepers. I thought there's some really interesting cultural context with that. Um, and you just see like the brothers, they're just entrepreneurs, aren't they? They're like hustlers. They want
Yeah.
to. They're really business driven. They're really trying to set up their own venture, and they're in a pretty unique situation because they've got the money, unlike perhaps other people. They can afford to do it. They're. I mean, that
Gamble on
scene.
themselves.
Yeah, the scene where he like shoots a random guy for like trying to steal his loot from the car was pretty fucking
Yep.
wild.
He just shoots him in the leg.
Yeah,
And the
it's
best
like
thing is he like talked to him, he knew who he was, and then he shot
yeah, yeah, and he's like, I can't let you go now, and then be like, oh, people nearly stole
right.
off.
I almost stole the smoker stacks loot. and I got to live to tell the tale. He's like, I
Yeah,
can't have you saying that to people because they're gonna think I'm a bitch.
that would be pretty wild. But like going into that, what did you hold? What was your expectations with that whole setup with the barn and the jukebox club? You just think
Uh
did you have like any notions of what to expect, or were you just thinking, okay, we're seeing like
no, I didn't. I was kind of just waiting for the other shoe to drop. Because but going into this, I heard this is a vampire film, and I haven't seen the vampires yet, and I was like, when are they going to show up? I was very intrigued. I was like, when are they going to show up? I love vampire movies. When are they coming?
I think that's a good segue into introducing Remick because I fucking love the way he's introduced in this film.
Yeah.
Like he just falls stumbling onto the door of
Yeah, well,
like
as so it shows when he's coming into that folks' house that he did start on fire a little bit, and he's like, "Please, please," he's like begging, and then they have the wife has like a gun on his chest, and she's like, "I don't trust him," and then he pulls out the gold coin, and like, "Oh, okay, sure."
yeah. Yeah,
You're
no, it
like,
was so devilishly good. The whole
yeah,
scene.
yeah, they
Uh
got the OG vampire rules. They die in sunlight. They have to be invited into her building. They have great repulsion to garlic and are killed outright. They are not killed outright with bullets. And if you put a wooden stake through their heart, they'll actually die.
okay, that last bit I didn't know about. So that's new information to me. But
Hmm.
you're right. Yeah, his whole scene, like he comes off, and it's so eerie. Like you just know, like
Right.
there's a burning man on your doorway, and he's like so convincing. Um,
Yeah, I
and the
like
fact that he
how
pulls
their
out that
eyes look.
door. Yeah, that was for me. Like in terms of the character designs, because like, look, there's been vampires. We've seen so many vampire character designs
Right.
over the years,
Count
and
Dracula.
exactly. Each iteration has their own spin on it. But what I liked about this was it wasn't like overtly showy. It was just like it had the right balance to it to make it
Mm,
look like okay, these could be real.
realistic. Yeah.
Yeah, it was so realistic that you could say like, oh yeah, this guy could easily pass off as a real person. But what I really liked was the sort of glint, the evil glint in their eye,
Yeah. I like that.
and
That was great.
that looked incredible in the night scenes,
Yep.
especially when they turn and they're like revealing that they're in their true form. It just had that menacing evil look, and it was so it didn't scare the shit out of me per se, but it was so chilling,
Hmm.
and it was so effective. I really liked the choice to do that. And obviously Remick, you know, bites that couple. They're a clansman couple from the
Yep.
clan, and
The Ku Klux Klan.
literally, yeah, which adds another interesting layer to the whole thing, right? Because like you got vampires, you got like Ku Klux Klan in
Yep.
the story. Obviously, it's set in a time where oppression
Yeah,
and
Jim Crow. Jim Crow
yeah,
South.
exactly. So there's some really like heavy themes, but they're being fictionalized with supernatural horror, which is like
Hmm.
historical to a point. But I really like the tease with the Indian tribe that comes at the doorway in a scene later on, and
Mm.
they're like, "Oh, have you seen anyone here? Like, you know, are you harboring this? Are you harboring someone, a stranger in your household because he could be, he
Yeah,
could
they
be
were like
evil."
vampire hunters type.
They were literally vampire hunters. That's what
Yeah,
they
they
were.
were like Native American Indians.
Yeah, Indian.
The
I
men
I
that
believe
had
it.
their land stolen from them.
Yeah, yeah. But I really like the tease, and I thought it was
Mhm.
so badass that they existed
Right.
because it just again it did this thing where it did a bit of world building, but without really being too much. Like it was just
Right.
perfect.
They
Like
didn't
it
like
just gave
pad
you
out the movie with like an hour of hunting
no,
vampires.
no. They just like it was that one scene, but it was
Right.
effective in knowing like, okay, these creatures exist, but so do people who know about them and are actively trying to chase them. So I thought that was a pretty cool reference. I don't know if they'll go. down with the franchise route with this film and make like
well,
one
if they
sequel.
do, I doubt like it will change genres. I assume it will be well within that uh like that type of feel. Whether it's blues or not, that's up for them to decide. But if he has full if Coogler has full creative control, I doubt this will turn into a steaming pile. But if the
Yeah.
studio gets its hands on him and he has like no relation to it, this could be action blockbuster of the year and come out
Well,
every
that's
year.
the thing, right? I read a pretty interesting. I mean, it's ironic because we're talking about like themes of cultural assimilation,
Right.
cultural appropriation, stealing another culture for their own. And I read a fact where apparently Warner Brothers uh have allowed to give the rights to the film to Coogler after 25 years.
Yep.
So in 25 years he'll have ownership to the whole film, which is pretty wild to
Yeah,
think
he
about.
had some wild negotiations.
Yeah. You're like, what the fuck is that about?
All right.
But
Well, because mostly they're just like they don't have anything, or they'll be like George Lucas and have everything, and then
yeah.
sell it off to Disney.
Yep. Yep. Which they easily could. They
Right.
could sell it off if they wanted to. But
Right.
I mean, it's completely original script. There's no
Mhm.
like there's no I mean it's got like characters that are based on historical lore references, but
Right.
it's its own story. And what I liked about it was personally, I didn't expect music to play such a big role in this film.
Yeah, I agree.
That really sort of impressed me, and it didn't feel like you know the type of horror film that just randomly turns into a musical when it wants to. Uh, Music in this film is so important. It's so tied down to culture. It's so tied down to like it's timeless.
Yeah.
The
Yeah,
fact that it can
I like it a
resonate with
lot.
any time period and any kind of people, not just like people within a certain community.
Mhm.
So I thought that was like something that really elevated the film for me. And everything really comes together in that one scene where Sammy's referenced in this film as like an aspiring uh guitarist, I think, aspiring musician. Uh and he has the ability to perform and sort of enamor people or galvanize them. And a scene where he plays in the jukebox club, and you see this musical sequence encompassing of like all different generations of people that get drawn into the scene. You got people from the past, you got people from the future, and it's just completely transcendent. And it's one of those few times where you actually feel that way watching it. It's like one of those rare moments where you watch something on a big screen and you actually feel that you're transcending in the moment with the scene. So that scene I thought was really impressive, and that itself is like a standout in this film. Like if the rest of the film was bad, which it's not, but if it
Thankfully.
was, thankfully, right?
Yeah.
But even if the rest of the film was bad, I still think people would be talking about this scene.
Yeah.
That's how good it was, and that's how not only good it is to watch, but that's how it was so good that the antagonist Remick is is so drawn to it, right? That's the reason why he decides to go there with his cronies, because there's something about Sammy's singing that can bring people from different times and different cultures, I guess,
Yeah.
together. And it's got a feeling that he wants with the dead that he wants to gather. So I thought that was just personally really, it was something. It was so bold.
Yeah, it was a pretty big spectacle. I think, yeah, that was definitely one of the high points of the movie. Um, I also liked even when Jack O'Connell, when he does his own like singing, I like that.
Yeah.
Even though like it's like a completely different genre and it's very, like old folky and all
Yeah,
that.
it's
And
folk,
he's got
folk.
all the people in his vampire clan singing along. Really enjoyed that.
Thing is, and the thing is, like, I don't know if you noticed, but like once you see all the black people get converted into vampires, they're singing his kind of music too,
Yep.
which is so interesting. Um, like they're singing completely like, you know, Irish folk songs, and that's what his character is. He's originally meant to be Irish, which I thought again is such a interesting layer to the whole thing because like Remick doesn't understand what uh the African Americans are going through in that time.
I'm
But
sure he did before he was made a vampire because Irish were part of the
exactly,
first people that came
that's
over
the
and they
point.
got mistreated. And
Exactly. That was the point I was gonna get to is
yeah,
that Irish were the ones who got overshadowed by the rise
exactly.
of
It's just like
Christianity.
when the Italians came to America, it's the same thing. They weren't considered white, and they were treated as second class citizens until they meld. It's like a melding pot. You
Yeah,
slowly acquire their culture. You
yeah.
bring it into your own. Like it's kind of like today. Like I personally, I listen to a lot of music that would be considered like black culture. It's just like it's a part of my collective. I bring
Yes.
it all in, and that's kind of what the vampires are trying to do. They're trying to
Yeah.
assimilate it into their own.
And they were, and I thought that was it was so nuanced in doing that because normally, it could have easily just been about just surface level vampire good.
Right.
I mean, vampire
Vampire,
bad,
I'm gonna drink your blood.
and that's about it, right? I
Yeah,
mean,
that's most vampire movies.
we reviewed Nosferatu a few months ago, and I think we felt like, yeah, it's great to look at, but it just felt like it lacks something inside it to make you want to feel the story, and it just felt too mechanical. And then you got
Right.
this, which completely, it takes this mold of a horror film set in a specific time, and it infuses it with new ideas, and it's just so contemporary in its take. And I just think that's so. For me, like, I applaud that. I really think, people appreciate original stories like this,
Hmm.
and it's no surprise the film is you know such a big box office hit, and critically, running raves. Uh, it opened. I think it broke records for having the lowest second week drop ever, like only 6% drop. So, like, that's a pretty crazy record because, like, usually films in their second week drop in the box office by like 40 to 60%.
Hmm.
That's considered normal. This film only dropped in its earnings by 6%, which is crazy. And I think it broke a few other records domestically, especially for a horror original film. I think it was one of the highest grossing opening first weekends.
It didn't
And
even have to be a PG-13.
no, no, it wasn't. Yeah, and I think that's again another push to the whole idea that it doesn't necessarily need to be the family friendly film
Right.
that's
To make a lot of
PG-13.
money.
Yeah,
Correct.
yeah. I mean, if the story's good, if the vision's there, if the collective is there, people will recognize and will support the film. And
And then
I'm
they'll
glad.
tell friends of theirs to go watch it, and they'll tell their friends to watch it.
Which,
And that's like 10 people.
yeah, which is exactly what has made this film resonate with so many people. Is that the word of mouth has been so strong that everyone's gone to see it. I mean, I wish I could watch it in IMAX 70 mm. I think it would look fucking amazing in that format. But I think it's like people are really lucky if they can catch it on that, with especially with that sound system, because the music and the sound design in the film, it's scored by Coogler's longtime collaborator, Ludwig Göransson, who also scored his other films like Black Panther. And also he did Oppenheimer, which he won an
Okay.
Oscar for, I believe. But yeah, the score is incredible. It's just a perfect mix of like folk, folklore, and like contemporary blues.
Hmm.
Like I just thought it just added that whole energy to the film that made it, stand out for me.
Yeah,
But
I agree. It
I was
really
wondering
added to
what
the
your thoughts were on
atmosphere.
the whole. Yeah, yeah, the atmosphere exactly. But what was your thoughts on it? Like, did you think the music was a big
Oh,
deal?
the music was great. Like I normally don't listen to blues. And like sometimes I'll listen to like folk music, but that's just because I have like a big it's mostly Fallout music, but a lot of like that stuff, like a lot of old timey stuff, because just that's what's playing in the background in the video game, and then I kind of get into those songs. But I like it when scores, when they add and they don't subtract, and they don't
Yeah,
play 9,000 this song, like when you're watching a movie and you hear a different song like every like 2 minutes, and it's like a different song, and it's like not incorporated well in the film, you get really distracted. You're like, okay, now they're playing, the Queen song, and I'm just like, God damn it, I like the song. Stop fucking tainting the music I like. And this film, it really like envelops you inside, and it makes you really like feel like the mood of the film. It's just you have all this blues playing, and you got all this just very unique music playing throughout.
yeah. No, you're spot on with that, and I think like that's what makes it stand out because, like you mentioned, it's so easy. You watch a lot of these films where they throw in a famous '90s or '80s song just to play on your heartstrings, and it's like, yeah, it's cool,
It's like,
but it
fuck
takes you
me.
out of the moment.
This is supposed to be only in the trailer. What the fuck's wrong with you people?
But I think it's like too many films in recent memory have done that
Oh,
because
you
they
can
realize, oh shit, like this has got like, oh,
gotta
if
be,
we can budget, if we can get like a good 10, 15 million just so that we can use some of these crazy hits for the past, and they'll resonate because people get nostalgic about music all the time, and it'll just have like a crazy like. I think Guardians of the Galaxy was
yeah,
one
that's
that
the
comes to
reason
mind.
why everybody does it, because of how well
Yeah,
that movie did. And they're
yeah,
like,
but
well, we could do
also
that.
in all fairness, it works in Guardians because it's in sync with the story and the character
Yeah,
of Peter Quill. But
it's
like
literally a
here,
plot device. The tape.
exactly, literally. But you see so many films do it, and it's so cheap. And it comes
Mhm.
off. It's you can smell it from a million miles away.
And it can kill your movie too. Like that
Yeah,
Cruella live action, it killed it for me. I
I
love Emma
haven't watched
Stone.
it.
I
I
think
haven't
she's
watched.
a great actress. I hated that movie because of the music.
Mhm. Yeah, it's understandable.
And I like
But
this movie because of its music. It's a
yeah,
contributing factor to my enjoyment. And I'm glad I went to the movie theater with 4 people in it, because I got a better experience than I would have on my headset at home trying to watch it, on a streaming service. It's just like this. If you can make it to the theater for this movie, I would advise you to. It will probably be around for a while. It's a new thing. It's something different. It's not the 50th sequel of a series that's been going on for 40 years, or a prequel of something that's been around since the 70s, or a reboot of some popular nostalgia franchise from the 80s. It's like I really appreciated that.
yeah, that itself earns it points for me. The fact
Yeah.
that it was purely original, and I think we should get back into the story because like
Yeah.
going into the Jukebox Club, I think it's like I thought it was wonderful, like how they managed to like create this community environment in one night. Uh, but you just know like there's a change, there's a turning point that's going to occur. When is it going to happen and how is it going to happen? So what was your thoughts on that? Because it really happens when I believe Remick and two of the Klansman couple that he
Yeah.
converts uh arrive at the doorstep of the club and they want to get in, and they're really, I would say they're really earnest with the way they word it, right? They're really
Right.
just there because they want to have a good time and support.
But
Um,
the whole like race thing that becomes like a
yeah,
big thing,
it
because
does.
so there is one mixed woman in the juke joint, but that's just because she talked her way in, and she has a previous relationship
Yeah,
with one of the
they
owners.
consider her family.
Yeah,
I think one of
exactly.
the characters say it. So
And they like try to like play off their it's the white people pull the race card. They're just like, come on, we just want to have a good time. And the only reason why they get in is because the money brother is like, okay, if we can get some of their money, we're barely gonna like not even break even, so we need their money. Like that's like the only reason why they get in.
yeah, he asks him to reconsider because obviously the club could use the money because they put in a
Right.
lot of investment in. I mean, you can see that with how they recruited people overnight and just got them over day rather, and just got over the day and got them to basically work for them on short
Yeah.
notice.
You even got like the
So
big door guy and
yeah, I
uh
thought he was a pretty funny character.
yeah.
It
I'll
was
take a
I really
leak.
like the turn. I really like the way his character turns into a vampire.
Yeah, he's a big
Uh,
dummy.
and it's like you got like you got good small performances sprinkled all throughout.
Yeah, like the voodoo lady. Yeah, I liked her. She was
Yeah,
fun.
and also like I believe it was Stacks. No, it was Smoke's estranged wife Annie.
Yep.
I thought she was also a really like uh interesting character, and it was quite, again, there was a whole backstory of them having a child that passed away, and they're estranged because of the trauma related to it. But I thought she was such a strong character. I really appreciated how all the female characters in this really had their own sense of will and were acting on their own in their own accord. Like it was really written well, where they really had a say. Because quite often you watch a film that has an ensemble of characters, and you can just tell, yeah, some of these are just like there because they're filling the background. But over here, I felt like each of the characters here felt distinct,
Mhm.
and felt like they had their own voice. And especially when they do get attacked, you start to see the sacrifices, and you start to see really like devastating moments that bring out like what makes them stand out. And I thought, like, for example, uh, I believe it was Lee Jun Lee as Grace, seeing her husband turn
Yep.
into a
He's like going to
vampire.
go start the car and
Yeah,
comes
I thought that was
back.
so devastating. Like, and the
Yeah.
fact that she's fearing for her child.
Right.
Uh,
And then because he turned him, he knows all about their child and knows their child's name and knows where their child is.
yeah, that's so fascinating
We're
about the
gonna go
vampire.
visit her.
The fact that they all have like this hive mind, sort of
Like consciousness.
Celsius, yeah, consciousness. The
Yeah.
fact that they can know everything about each other's intricate history, is so interesting, because the way that uh the relationship of how that plays out with the humans really fucks with them. And it really, I think more than anything, it was like it affected the brothers' relationship.
Oh yeah.
Uh, but
Because he was
that whole
getting it
yeah,
freaky and getting turned as a vampire while you're having sex. All right.
I mean, so would you say you wouldn't want Haley Steinfeld spitting
Oh,
in your mouth?
absolutely. I've always, as a small teenager, I've always wanted to be a vampire. That hasn't changed. You can't take the I want to be a vampire out of a cringe lord from their teenage years. They'll always want to be a vampire. They'll always want to live forever. They'll always want to embrace the
Yeah,
night.
embrace tonight, exactly. But like
Yeah.
the scene where her character Mary goes sort of investigate whether they're really sincere with their
Right.
intentions, because they're just like, they put up a performance to convince them that, look, we're actually musicians, like we play. uh but one of the brothers is like, nope, we're not dealing with you guys, y'all can leave. um and they still continue to play in the distance. I thought that was so
Right.
creepy, the fact that they continue to do so. But when Mary goes to check on whether their intentions are true or whatever, in the hopes that they could maybe come in. That scene where he just jumps and it cuts was so good. I really like the editing. The
Yeah.
editing in those sequences were really like sharp for me.
Right.
But like, because it was like, obviously you can do the usual jump cut stuff, like the jump scare stuff.
Yeah, they did do a couple jump scares.
They did. No, they did.
I
But
was
it's
so
like
pissed
it
off.
wasn't.
So
It wasn't.
angry. I was like, God damn it, this film's good. What do you don't need these.
But it wasn't too bad, was it?
No. I even wrote in my notes like there was two of them, but they weren't obnoxious. They were
No. I think I think you're
that
allowed
snake
to have
one was
yeah, the snake one really got me. I fucking
Well, yeah, you hate snakes. That makes sense.
I freaked out. Anyone would freak out in that situation.
Right.
Tell me.
I would too. I'd like, fuck that. I'm out of here.
But the fact that it was so coordinated where like one of the brothers is just like, yeah, I'll throw you this knife, and he just catches it midair and stabs it on the head. It's pretty fucking cool. And that just showed for me like moments like that really just showed like, oh yeah, these guys are like two peas in a pod. They really are so in sync with each other. Even though one of them's a lot more laid back, a lot more childish, and the other one's a lot more responsible. He's a lot more brooding, but they just mesh so well together, and their relationship really shines.
You'd
So
say they're
again,
cut from the same cloth.
exactly, they're just cut from the same cloth, and like I thought that moments like that really strengthen their bond, and obviously it's no surprise what happens in the end, but like
All right.
it's moments like that where I think the writing really shined for me. But I think this is the moment in the film where the film, like the genre turn happens, right?
Yep.
Usually
becomes a blood fest.
So whatever first 1 hour where we spend just like watching them set up, watching them really get to know these characters, get to know what the vibe is like in this town. And now you're seeing, oh shit, you know, this guy is turned into a vampire having sex. I mean,
I just thought of something really interesting. Imagine like all those old people that go on like a Monday showing and then they don't know this is a horror movie.
You mean to say you're gonna walk in a film called Sinners and
you never know. Old people get bored. They're watching all sorts of weird shit. There's been all sorts of movies. Like I saw old people at the Substance, so you know it is what it is.
Wow. Okay,
because they're like that is more. You know, they're like
I find that harder to believe than going to a film called Sinners.
Right. You know, maybe they like blues music. You know, they come to the theater, they bring their family.
Yeah.
I forget that's rated R.
It's quite a choice.
Waiting for the chicken jockey to come out. They've decided they are not in the Minecraft movie.
Oh no, no. But it was a good weekend though when it came out, because I believe like there were like 4 films that made more than 20 million in the same weekend, and I don't think that's happened in like post-COVID era.
We're coming back. People are going back to the theaters.
People going back, but yeah. What did you think of the whole bloodbath? Because this is where the film became like cool as well for me. Like I really liked the vibe it had there, because it's like, okay, fuck.
Yeah, I like movies like this that are really slow burn, and you're just waiting for the other shoe to drop. And when the other shoe dropped, I was invested. I was really into it. I was wondering.
It was a shot in the arms at the right moment.
In any vampire movie, you're always wondering who's going to survive and what vampires are going to die. And
did you wonder who would survive? Like, did you?
Yeah. I was wondering. I was like, well, a lot of these people are fucked, because that's just how it's going to happen. Especially once they get in. It's when they get invited in. It's just like, okay, well, it's all going to hell.
I believe it was the character of Annie who says, "Oh, they aren't evil; they're vampires." And then she makes everyone eat garlic.
Yep.
And
the
it was just
lady.
Yeah.
They're doing their Among Us. There's like 8 people left, or what have you. And they're trying to suss out who can't be trusted.
This is so paranoid. Like the paranoia was through the roof at that moment, and then you're like wondering, oh shit, like someone.
Well, why wouldn't you just in traditional vampire movies, if you revoke an invitation, they get forced out. I was wondering why they didn't do that.
Oh,
But
is it? Is
maybe
that how it works?
that's not how the rules work in this. Once you're invited, you're invited. I don't. It's like
Yeah, there's this odd like consent like idea that
yeah,
they're waiting for.
but that's
And
been around since Nosferatu vampires. It's been an ongoing thing. A lot of things like you can't see your shadow in a mirror or your reflection rather, and obviously you can't walk in the sun otherwise you'll burn to death. And
yeah,
sleeping in coffins another trope, but they didn't really get into that.
which I'm glad they didn't because
No, that would have
yeah,
been
it wasn't
unneeded.
too. Yeah, I think like that's why I find the whole opening scene of how Remick falls from the sky and he's burning just so fascinating because you just never see that as an
Right.
opening for a vampire, right? A vampire is always traditionally
Wake out of
shown.
their crypt and they put on their black cloak and act like they're just a little eccentric.
Yeah, yeah, pretty much. That's always usually what's been depicted with
Yeah, a
the
lot of the common tropes in the vampire uh,
yeah.
mythos, I guess is the best word for it.
It is, and I mean, then you realize that unfortunately, one of the brothers, I believe it was
Stack
Smoke,
or
Stack,
yeah, I think it's Stack. I think Smoke.
Stack gets
He
bitten by Mary and turns into a
yeah,
vampire. It's
yep,
pretty
yeah. They're
pretty
having sex
crushing
and that
moment.
happens, and then now there's a vampire in the house.
Yeah, there's a vampire in the house,
He didn't get
and the
invited
doorman.
in.
The doorman's disappeared to take a leak,
Mhm.
and he
He left the drunk to cover the door.
yeah, and
What a fucking idiot!
but that was such a like the whole bit where he's like trying to convince him like let me back in, and he's like the vampire's really putting on a human display in
Right,
that
and
bit.
he's like, "I might be drunk, but
I really like it was kind of a jump scare I guess, but he tries to go for his hand and then he shoots him just in time. Uh,
then finds out shooting him doesn't actually do anything.
no,
Just shooting hot babies at him. You're just annoying them a little bit.
yeah. So that was like again a moment like that really got me, and then you start to see that they're all being bitten one after the other.
Yep.
The
The
whole
voodoo
crowd that's
lady.
left,
Yep.
the party that's left the club gets converted, and there's now like a huge group, a huge clan of vampires waiting to
Yep.
come in. And there's only like, I believe, there's only Smoke, Annie,
Preacher boy.
Perline, and Sammy, and yeah, and obviously Delta Slim, the drunk pianist.
Yep.
So those are the core characters that remain. And it's a big moment there because you're wondering, okay, how's this gonna play out? Is it gonna be like, are they just gonna wait it out, or they're gonna all die one by one, or like how is it gonna turn out? And you know what? In a normal movie, in a normal situation, or maybe a straightforward situation, the film would just end there, right? Like it would
Right.
just end with either all of them dying or one of them kind of makes it out, not makes out, but makes it
Right.
out, survives, and that's it, right? But it doesn't sort of really end there. There's still more to the story, which I didn't expect. That really sort of added again more to the whole. It just added another layer to to the film because it's like if in a genre film, like yeah, sure, let's just end it with the big ending that any film would have
Yeah.
with monsters involved or you know supernatural characters involved, but it didn't end there, and I thought that was a very interesting choice because it really ends in a way where where Stack is trying to kill Smoke, and that's a
Mhm.
big moment. You don't know what's gonna happen. They cut away from that, and then it's just Sammy who's basically alone, and Remick is drawn to Sammy more than anyone, right? That's the whole reason he shows up at the club because he wants Remick's singing abilities, because he can bring people from his past together. and I thought that was yeah, it was fascinating how they centered that around Sammy's character. And the performance is great because Miles Caton, this is his first performance in a film. I
Oh,
was like really impressed by his acting here because I thought he had a really distinct voice, and yeah, I was impressed. I didn't expect a first time performance. I didn't expect that to be a first time performance. I thought this was
yeah, I
something
couldn't tell.
I couldn't tell. So yeah, it was again one of the standouts in the film. But yeah, what did you think of that whole ending with the vampires bit?
So I like all the ending until you get to the after credit stuff. I'm just like, what the fuck? I'm like, that's where the movie probably should have ended for me, but I was intrigued, as a
Yeah.
good movie watcher, I look up, are there after credit scenes? Doesn't matter what I'm watching. I paid
Mhm.
good money to be in this theater.
Yeah. Yeah, you wanna stick to the end and see, but like
Mhm.
emotionally at that moment, do you think the film like would have worked if it just
I
ended
think
with
it would
Lemmick
have,
dying?
as much as I liked the executing all the clan, the Ku
Yeah.
Klux Klan.
Yeah.
As much as I enjoy that, because I enjoy any time whenever any society or group that is deemed inherently evil gets what's coming to them, I enjoy that.
Mm.
That's the entire premise of Inglorious Bastards. Like, I enjoy that, but necessarily was it needed for the story? Not really. It kind of felt tacked on.
Oh, okay, interesting. You thought it was stacked on.
Yeah, like I like
Right.
it, but I felt like it
Because it
was.
was I think it was Remick who says, like he actually reveals to them that,
Yeah,
you're better off converting with us because the Klansmen are gonna arrive tomorrow and kill you anyways.
right.
So I thought that was oddly like, yeah, it was just yeah, it was such an pivotal moment for the human characters because they're like, okay, well, fuck, like, do we have a choice?
Not really.
and and the fact that Smoke decides to, I mean, it's devastating because he sees his wife die, who is uh who he was meant to have a child with, and it's obviously he's seen his brother turn in to a vampire, so it's like, this is a World War veteran with PTSD, and he's going through stuff here. But I thought, yeah, it was like an interesting twist. I did because I genuinely thought the story would end there, but it really goes to another sort of level where he kind of actually takes revenge on, like, they gave it a Hollywood end in there. Don't you agree? Like, where he goes
Yeah.
on guns blazing and
Yep.
he kills all the
Very
clans.
Hollywood.
I mean, he kind of reminded me of Black Klansman a bit. I don't know
Yeah.
if
Yeah,
you've
I
seen
could
this.
see that. There's a some of that in this film, and there's also some
Shades of
of
Shades of Hateful Eight,
if you
Shades of
ever
Black Klansman.
saw that vampire movie, the Doctor Sleep or whatever it's called, the Stephen King prequel to The Shining, that has a lot. Their vampires kind of remind me a lot of the, as I would call them, the Borg vampires, the collective. Like they're like it's like that taste that I want to eat you because of you're special. Like that type of, yeah, it has a lot of like those themes. And now that movie is obviously not as well written as this one, but I definitely see those parallels.
But it takes the idea of wanting to take over specific people because what
Right.
they offer, right? And in this
Right.
case, they've chosen this club, uh, which is primarily filled with African American Black
Yep.
people, and they want that. Like, they want their music. They want they're drawn to this. So I thought, yeah, I think it takes the idea and it makes it even more thought provoking. But yeah, the whole KKK bit, like, I didn't personally have a problem with it.
Right.
Uh, I thought it was like fitting that he'd want to do that, but it was kind of maybe predictable that he was gonna die, taking them down because
Oh,
it's
you
like
only get so much plot
he
armor
goes
when they have that
he
many
goes
guns.
full. I was just thinking, I was watching the scene and I was just thinking, holy shit, this is like full John Rambo.
Right.
Like he's just
No, he
wiping
definitely
out.
is.
But it's funny because he's wiping out like entire groups of Klansmen, and obviously they were gonna show one guy, just one guy, managing to get a shot at him.
Yeah.
So I thought that was like, oh, that's that's like your typical like action movie
Yeah,
ending.
he
But
wasted a lot of people with a Tommy gun, which would have been appropriately accurate for that time period because of Al Capone.
yeah, that's a good reference. The gun, but I didn't, I don't. It didn't bother me because it's like, look, end of the day, what I like about the film is that it is messy. It
Yep.
is got like stuff happening all around. I wouldn't say it's the most like well structured film I've ever seen. There's times where it does like it's hard because like you're dealing with different genres as well.
Right.
It's a period piece. It's like suddenly contemporary. It's suddenly got like music's so sort of there's a fusion in this that it really takes its own tone when it shifts, and when it goes full, when it goes full genre, full horror. I think the film is really enjoyable. But the final vision I think Smoke has is of his wife and his kid, and then he passes away. But you're left wondering, oh, like what happened to Stack? And Sammy survives. Sammy goes, and then that's the flash forward to the opening of the film where he goes into the church, and the father tells him to renounce music, but he decides to leave. Like he doesn't decide to renounce music, and that's where you think the film ends. But there's an epilogue.
Yep.
And what do you think of the epilogue?
I thought it was pretty funny. Legendary blues guitarist Buddy Guy appears during the epilogue as an elderly Sammy in 1992. You got the stereotypical 1992 clothes of Stack and Mary as they show up and talk to him.
Yeah,
And they
yeah.
reveal
I thought it was like a really it was a I think it was a homage more than anything for
right.
me.
Yeah,
It was a
it kind of
homage
reminded me of that
to
Black Panther movie where they had some like 90s stuff in it.
yeah. It's self-referential in a way, and
Yeah.
like I think the choice of having a legend like Buddy Guy play a older version of Sammy was like I really liked it.
Mm.
And I really like the performance sequence as well because when you see him, you obviously know it's Sammy because of the scars he has on his face,
Yep.
and he's a lot older. So you're wondering, wow, like he actually made it. Like he pursued the thing he was aspiring to be, despite what he went through in that fatal night in his 20s or whatever. And that's when you think the film ends, and then you see like Stack and Mary walk in, and they're dressed up like they're in the 90s
Like
and
their
living through.
Fresh Prince of Bel Air.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Which is interesting because it makes me think like, wow, like you could have seen them in so many different eras, and what would it be like to see vampires in so many different eras? That would be pretty interesting.
Mhm.
But the whole reason he comes there is because he smells death on Sammy, and he offers him the chance to be immortal. But uh, Sammy chooses not to, and then it's revealed that there was a deal between Smoke and Stack just when they were perhaps going to kill each other. He let him go. He let I believe Stack
And
go because as long as he left Sammy alone.
yep.
That's the reason why Sammy never got hurt and managed to survive. So I thought that was like, yeah, it was a big reveal.
Right. It was
Maybe,
interesting, but at the same time doesn't kind of make sense. But that's neither here nor there. It's not like massive plot hole or anything. It's just
no, it's not a
like a
plot hole, but
small like little like a
it
side.
just I think it just adds like more to the for me it just added more to the bond
Okay.
uh of the brothers. The fact that despite one of them being turned, they still had that
That bond.
connection and that bond. It was so strong that even then, even being in that state, he was able to live up to that offer was like pretty impressive. And the fact that these guys have, I think he mentions it. I think he's mourned his brother more than he's known him. I mean, these guys are like a version of Bonnie and Clyde, this couple.
Yeah.
And they're like living through immortal. So it's like, yeah, that's. And then he asks him, like, whether that night still haunts him. And he said, until the sun went down, it was the greatest day of my life. So it's like, yeah, I thought it was a pretty, interesting choice. I didn't expect an epilogue.
No, I didn't either.
But I think, overall.
Yeah, I don't feel the 1992 is tacked on. I just feel like the shootout feels a little tacked on.
The shootout kind of feels a bit tacked on.
Yeah, I enjoyed the epilogue. That was
like
they
wanted to. It almost felt like they wanted to satisfy fans and give them that ending where the good guy.
This is probably where this story ends, and hopefully,
yeah. But I think we've covered it all. Do you want to go into final thoughts and give it a rating?
Sure. So
unless you have anything else to add.
No, I think we covered most of it. So I'm gonna go straight into ratings. Sinners, pretty decent movie. It suffers in very few aspects. Like maybe the movie was too long. You don't really feel it, but it is what it is. Some other few nitpicks. I personally don't care for jump scares at all, whether or not they're snakes and they make sense when they happen. If you're looking for something different, this is definitely it. Like a different kind of vampire movie, a different kind of piece inside of like a certain like time frame. It's really different. I give Sinners a very rare 9 out of 10.
I will keep it short as well. I just want to highlight that I really loved how bold the creative choices were with not just the music, which takes its own form in this film, but also the photography, the blues, the sort of set design, and all the creative aspects. I thought really elevates the whole quality to the film. But I thought Sinners was a wild, pulsating mix of folklore, horror, blues filled with raw emotion. It's timeless. It's kind of like jazz at times. It's messy in the best way. It's bursting with energy and ideas. And it really is a big metaphor with vampires. And it kind of reminds you why, sometimes this is why we go to the movies, to see it together. And when it's an experience like the scene in the middle of the film where that song, takes you from past to present and immortalizes these people. I think that's kind of like the whole idea of what film does. It immortalizes stories. So I will also give Sinners a 9 out of 10. I think it's an ambitious, creative film. And so far for me, I think it's been, the best film to come out so far. And I'm sure this will end up in my top 10 list at the end of the year.
Hell yeah.
So with that being said, do you have a recommendation for that?
I do have a recommendation. So our anniversary, it's a little wishy-washy when it was because we had a previous unaired episode that someday might see the light of day. I think it's
I thought you were gonna call our relationship wishy-washy.
Not at all, no. It's been anything but awesome and kind and interesting and great conversations we've had over this year. I think it's finally time to review my favorite anime. My number one, Panty and Stocking with Garter Belt, 2010. Yeah, this show it's really raunchy. I love it for its faults, but yeah. So I have an awesome little introduction that I wrote, and I'm going to do my best impression of the trailer guy voice. Two angels. One loves sex. One loves sugar. Both kicked out of heaven for being way too much. Now they're blasting ghosts, dropping F-bombs, waging war with lingerie and a sugar rush. With their Afro priest brass and a ton of unresolved issues, they're earning heaven coins, one explosive mess at a time. Panty and stocking with garter belt. Too hot for heaven, too messed up for hell. Angels with dirty mouths and dirtier minds. How'd you like that?
Wow, you I don't know what to say. This is gonna be
Perma stunned you?
this is never. I didn't know you had that in you. So okay.
I didn't
Well,
either.
this is gonna be an interesting watch. Definitely not PG-13. I'm assuming. So.
No, it's very lewd. It's very crude. It might be your first your favorite anime.
Okay, all right. We'll find out in the next episode.
Awesome.
All
right, and I got a little cute thing I wrote for the outro.
Oh, right.
I'm gonna go down to the local juke joint and find some vampires.
Hey.
Hey.